Broken Script. The Broken Script is a slow, hands-in-your-pockets kind of horror mod that quietly wrecks your sense of safety in the game and on your computer. It starts small, textures twitch, sounds repeat oddly, and strange NPCs or messages begin to show up where they shouldn't. Then it escalates in a way that feels personal. Your world gets corrupted, structures you built are secretly altered or destroyed. The game can crash or freeze at tense moments, and the mod can even push warnings and fake error pop-ups that look like your operating system is failing. It doesn't rely on loud jump scares. It steals control, scrambles your screen, and makes you check your files and your desktop because the problem seems to exist both inside and outside Minecraft. The experience is designed to make you paranoid about every quiet minute. Your window might shake, text files can appear in your folders, and the mod will sometimes deliberately corrupt saves, so you question whether continuing is worth the risk. Playing it feels like walking through a house where every familiar door is subtly different, and some of them lead to broken rooms you didn't remember building. Because it can modify external files and crash things, it's often labeled unsafe, and people warn against using it with certain visuals or other big world-changing mods. Treat it like a fragile, unpredictable experiment. Back up everything, expect the unexpected, and don't run it on a world you care about. The Anomaly. The Anomaly is a cave-stalking presence that starts invisible and grows more dangerous the longer you play. It hides in dark pockets and rarely appears at first, turning ordinary tunnels into places that demand caution. The creature reacts to your noise and light, mimics movement and sounds to lure you, and evolves into more aggressive behaviors that can chase you out of caves and even follow you to the surface. Encounters are sparse and memorable, so a single sighting or a sudden trap feels significant rather than cheap. The Anomaly moves through the world physically, shifting blocks and triggering changes that make routine caving into tense decision-making about whether to press deeper or retreat. Over time, you learn to read small signs, disturbed gravel, oddly placed torches, footsteps that stop when you listen. The real threat is patience. It waits, it studies patterns, and it uses silence and darkness to reshape your choices. As the game progresses, the presence becomes more assertive, turning your map of safe tunnels into a web of lies and dead ends. The fear comes from anticipation and from watching familiar caves become unfamiliar, from the knowledge that something with a steady, deliberate hunger is following every descent. From the fog brings a fog-wreathed presence back into Minecraft folklore, building dread through atmosphere and implication rather than constant attacks. Nights start to feel off before anything concrete appears. Fog thickens in odd places, distant sounds echo without source, and small visual glitches suggest the world is failing at its edges. The mod layers hints, ruined builds, scattered notes, and staged events, so the story reveals itself slowly, each clue nudging you toward a darker truth. The fog hides movement and turns open fields into places where you only half see things that might be there, making every shadow a possibility. Entities and subtle corruption appear in timed patterns that escalate tension, not just to surprise you, but to make you doubt what you remember seeing a moment before. The presence in the fog manipulates the landscape, bending paths and leaving marks that suggest it has been waiting a long time. The core of the horror is prolonged uncertainty. You never get a clear explanation, only more hints that point to something watching and rewriting the world quietly. The mod trades constant threat for creeping suspicion, and that slow, unresolved menace is what makes it linger in your head long after you log off. Root of Fear. The Root of Fear introduces a living corruption that moves like a tree made of rot and hunger. It spawns a creature called the Wilted, a twisted arboreal monster that thrives in darkness and feeds on light itself. Nights feel unsafe because the Wilted rewrites how light works. Torches dim sooner, glow fades in patches, and safe areas shrink as the creature draws power from the dark. When it's near you, hear wet creaks and distant, hollow groans. The air feels heavier, and patches of ground look scarred and sickly. The Wilted's behavior changes each time it spawns, with randomized bonus traits that make encounters unpredictable. Sometimes it prowls slowly and stalks from range. Sometimes it rushes in bursts. Sometimes it manipulates the environment to herd you into traps. The mod scatters hints, withered roots, ruined gardens, and scraps of lore that suggest the Wilted once belonged to a larger, rotten ecosystem. Its presence punishes careless light use and rewards cautious, deliberate movement. Rushing into a dark thicket invites entrapment. The Root of Fear turns ordinary nights into a contest over illumination, forcing constant choices about when to risk dark spaces and when to burn every match until the world is only shadow and threat. Arphex, short for arthropod phobia expansions, floods the world with realistic predatory arthropods and monstrous boss creatures that make every crawlspace feel hazardous. Spiders, centipedes, beetles, and related horrors are redesigned to move purposefully, swarm intelligently, and use the terrain to ambush. Smaller mobs feel fragile until they coordinate. Larger variants break simple strategies by tunneling, climbing, and striking from blind angles. The mod layers ecological behavior on top of combat. Nests appear in quiet corners, pheromone trails direct swarms, and certain species hunt in packs that flush players into deadly choke points. Mid and late game bosses are crafted as rituals of terror, gigantic, almost mechanical arthropods with multi-stage fights that alter the environment and force tactical retreats. Arphex also adds practical tools and weapons adapted to those threats, but victory often feels pyrrhic because the world itself changes. Infested biomes spread, structures rot under swarms, and once safe ground becomes a breeding zone. The core tension is biological. These creatures are not monsters for spectacle. They are predators remaking the land, and survival depends on understanding their habits, watching for nesting signs, and refusing to let fear turn you into prey. No Moonjar. No Moonjar is a Minecraft horror ARG-style mod that slowly corrupts your world by making the moon literally break away and the environment degrade into chaos. It starts subtly. Night feels different. Distant sounds and small texture glitches appear. Then things escalate. Blocks vanish. Hostile entities spawn in unusual patterns, and the sky slowly empties as the moon dissolves. The mod intentionally builds tension over time instead of dumping sudden jump scares, so the longer you play, the more the world warps around you. Gameplay changes are driven by timed events and visual corruption. You'll see persistent world damage, randomized structural decay, and new entities that behave unpredictably. Many of these mechanics are configurable in the mod's settings, so creators can toggle crashes, flashing lights, and other extreme effects for safety or stability. The experience borrows ideas from the broken script and other ARG mods. It mixes environmental storytelling with small, external touches that make the horror feel like it leaks out of the game itself. On a technical level, No Moonjar runs on Forge and has NeoForge builds, and modifies world generation and runtime events to create the slow unraveling effect because it alters saves and can trigger crashes. Creators strongly recommend backing up worlds before running it. The mod's pacing, reliance on creeping atmosphere, and configurable danger make it a strong tool for creators who want an unsettling playthrough without a single obvious monster dragging the mood down. From the Caves is a focused underground horror mod built around one persistent stalking entity that turns routine spelunking into a slow-burning nightmare. It waits in dark pockets of the world and follows rules that make it feel intelligent. It reacts to light, noise, and how deep you go, and it escalates its behavior in phases as you explore further. Early encounters are subtle, odd sounds, misplaced blocks, faint footprints, but those signs are warnings, not the whole story. The mod uses a 4-phase system that unlocks new events the deeper you go. Phase 1 teaches you to be uneasy. Phase 2 makes the entity more active. It moves blocks, triggers, traps, and sometimes mimics player sounds. Phase 3 breaks the safety of base camp. Structures you built can be altered, torches go out, and pathways change. Later phases push the threat into open areas. The entity can climb out of caves and follow you to the surface, so digging down becomes a long-term decision, not a quick trip for resources. Lore and environment matter. The mod scatters ruined structures, notes, and small scripted scenes that hint at why the thing exists, which turns exploration into piecing together a story. Technically, it interacts with the world directly, flipping levers, breaking blocks, opening doors, so encounters feel physical and immediate. Play it slow, record long takes of descent, and let the tension grow. The fear in From the Caves comes from what's watching you from below and what it quietly changes while you're not looking. Split Self. Split Self is an immersive horror mod that makes the game feel like it is judging your choices and trying to escape the consequences you created. It presents an alternate version of the player that was left behind in the world and now tries to claw its way out by changing the environment, manipulating game systems, and communicating directly with the person at the keyboard. The mod treats your actions as the trigger. It watches how you build, what you break, and which decisions you make, then responds by altering blocks, spawning hazards, and sabotaging progress in ways that feel personal rather than random. Split Self can break machinery, corrupt areas of a save, and create scripted events where items or notes appear addressed to you as a person rather than to your in-game character. A core unsettling feature is external feel interaction. The mod includes warnings that it will produce changes that feel like they reach beyond the game, but reassures players that nothing permanent is damaged and that there is a safe, no external effects build for cautious users. This design choice deepens dread because it blurs the line between in-game consequences and the player's real-world setup.